Like, hey, I'm glad she's not screaming at me.
Yeah. Talk to me nice.
So you're there just for...
We overthink so much.
Yeah.
We like that we block our own blessings, right? And we're so worried about other people blocking our blessings, but sometimes we're the ones doing it to ourselves because we don't give him our full faith.
Yeah.
What's up, y'all? This is Lee Vasi, and I'm here with Gospel Music Buzz. Check out our latest interview.
Listen, y'all, welcome back to another episode of The Buzz. I'm your host, Sherwin with Gospel Music Buzz. Follow us, Gospel Music Buzz, on all social media platforms. Make sure that you're subscribing to our mailing list. Check out our Spotify, Audio Mac playlist. You know, once we drop some new merch, make sure you grab yourself some merch. But listen, man, this week we're honored to be with someone that's just been buzzing in these Christian and R&B spaces, Billboard chart topper, the very first Christian R&B artist to be featured on Genius, Open Mic, and also Amazon Music Artist to Watch for 2025, man. She has an angelic voice that's as smooth as butter, but with an R&B swag. Lee Vasi, welcome to The Buzz. How are you?
Thank you. That was an amazing intro. I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Wow. It's one of those things that while we haven't directly spoken before, I've, known of your craft. I've seen your music out there. Anything that has dropped, we've made sure that we've, promoted it, pushed it on the platform because we're just a huge supporter of good, wholesome music. Like, I have teenagers. I'm always trying to tell them, if I'm hearing them listening to something, I'm like, yeah, that may be okay, but have you checked out this person that has a positive message, that has a really good message? And you're definitely doing that. For sure. So thank you just for staying the course and putting out really good, wholesome music that folks can just vibe to.
Yeah, thank you.
So how have you been enjoying our city so far?
Oh, I love New York. Yeah, my mom is from New York. I lived here a little bit as a kid. It's almost like a second home for me. So I love anytime I'm able to come back.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I mean, you kind of came right because we had some crazy little weather like about 2 days ago.
I
There was
heard.
some snow here. There was a lot of rain there. So you came at a sweet spot. So we got some good weather today too. So you're right here at the sweet spot. Now, kind of take us a little bit from the beginning. So, everyone is seeing Lee Vasi where you are here. We're seeing Lee at this stage, but your earlier stage, you did some Broadway, you did a lot of different things, it just was like, what was your musical journey or just your artistic? I don't even want to limit it to music, but what was your artistic journey just growing up?
Yeah, so music's always been in me, right? My mom will always say that when I was a little baby, before I could speak, I was humming, and she would like do a melody, and I could mimic her melody, before I was one. So music's always just been the thing, that I've been most drawn to. But I, was a really expressive kid, and grew up singing with my siblings, around the house, and ended up doing theater with my siblings growing up. And that was kind of my real foot in the door to realize, like the stage is actually really, felt like home to me from early on. I never had stage fright or anything. Like, you couldn't get me off the stage when I was a kid. And so very early in my journey, I ended up booking The Lion King on Broadway when I was 9 years old. And actually in Atlanta. The audition was in Atlanta. We moved here, for me to do The Lion King. And that really just completely broadened my view of, the gifts that I had been given and, what I could do with them and actually really make a career of it. And so at that point, when I was doing The Lion King, I ended up signing, with agencies and did the whole, go-sees for modeling, commercials, TV film, submissions for most of my childhood until I decided to focus in on music when I was 16. And so that's like the first half of the journey. And then the whole rest of it, leading me into the Christian R&B space is a whole different world. So, yeah, but that's how I got started.
That's something. I think what you kind of mentioned there was just not getting stage fright, because I know a lot of artists I talk to, they're great in the booth, they're great on socials, but once they have to hit that stage, there's just like a level of like uncomfortability they have to sort of maneuver
Yeah.
through. But kind of starting with that path of being in front of, several, you know, large audiences just early on, you would say that that kind of helped even with the way in which you create content, the way in which you kind of just step out even when you're going on stage?
Yeah, definitely. And it's different, right, when you are getting on stage for a role that you have rehearsed over and over again and it's kind of in your muscle memory at that point versus like now it's your songs and you're the artist and there is like a different level of vulnerability to it in my experience that has been interesting to learn to navigate. But yeah, theater is definitely kind of in my bones. So I carry it with me.
Love that.
Yeah.
And just even, being bilingual, how would you say, just from a cultural perspective, that has even impacted like your musical styling, whether it's writing, performance, just your overall view of music?
Yeah. Well, actually, I kind of do music. I decided to focus on music when I was 16 because of my cultures, right? I'm multicultural. I'm African American and Puerto Rican and Dominican. Grew up listening to so many different genres of music, and always wondered, how am I going to find myself in all of this, right? And I ultimately was like, what, I'm going to do music, and I'm going to do music that's bilingual. I'm going to do music that represents all of my cultures, and songwrite to really create my own stories and represent my own truth, and so really my culture is what led me into really focusing on music in the first place. So I really love being able to have the freedom to do that and be able to connect with so many different kinds of people through the music.
Oh yeah, and we've definitely been the recipient of that as well. When some of your songs that we've heard that switch, a little bit of Spanglish in between.
Yeah.
You come with the Spanish, the English, kind of go back and forth. So I think that's a beautiful thing in it of itself. So kind of starting with that, doing the theater, doing all of that, and making that decision to pivot into Christian music, Christian R&B music. You started out on that path, but there was a bit of a gap in the journey. You kind of like took a pause.
Yeah.
You did a bit of a reset before kind of launching forward.
Yeah.
What made you decided, hey, as I'm going in this direction, I wanted to just kind of pause for a bit and refocus, like, because I know a lot of times people talk about burnout, they talk about different things where folks just keep going, but the fact that you were able to tell yourself, hey, it's not going to be about FOMO, I'm not going to feel like I'm missing out on anything, but I'm going to kind of navigate my journey this way. What was that like?
Yeah, so it definitely was not a decision that I wanted to make, to take that pause and that hiatus. Really what happened was I gave up on music, right? And you're speaking of FOMO, like, I was missing myself at that point. I was so disconnected from myself. I had gotten so lost in so many things. And then in that period of realizing, of taking that time to just get quiet and find myself again, I realized that what I had really been missing was God. And I had really been missing a real relationship with the Lord. And so me getting back into music was only because I heard the voice of the Lord tell me to do it. Like I completely was done. And really just wanted to, find a life where I could have peace. And I was like, okay, Jesus, I want to know you. Can you reveal your face to me? I want to know you for myself. And it wasn't until I had really come into that heart posture of wanting to know the Lord and really seek him out that he called me back into music. So it was really just a complete organic process that the Lord brought me through that I could not have even thought about on my own.
So that was basically like your kind of started Damascus Rose moment with Saul Paul, but you kind of had it your own experience.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
Now, just from musical influences, like who would you say is some of your top, whether it's hip hop, R&B type musical influences, or just in general?
Yeah. So like I said, growing up, I heard so many different genres. So I love so many artists and so many different spaces. But I'm really a Mariah Carey girl. Like, love Mariah Carey. love Selena, and am really inspired by how both of them navigate, who they are and being true to who they are as artists. And I actually was really inspired to start songwriting because Mariah Carey is also a songwriter. And so man, just so many different influences. We, grew up listening to a lot of R&B, a lot of salsa as well. So the list can go on and on. But Mariah and Selena, those are my girls for sure.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere about you is that when you wrote your first song, whether you were 10 something, you can correct me on the age, but you were backstage somewhere.
Yeah.
And so what were you even thinking? Like, hey, I'm backstage, I'm prepping to go back here for my theater performance.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm just going to write a song. Like, how do you find time in between?
Yeah. So I was actually backstage at the Lion King.
Okay.
And I was literally every day driving into the city, we would listen to Mariah Carey at that point, me and my mom. And so that was at that point that I found out she was a songwriter. And I was like, okay, so I need to figure out how to write some songs, And so the young Nalas don't do the second act of the show. We have the first act, and then we have the whole second act off basically. And so it was during that time of being there that I just kind of started. I had my little notebook and started writing out this song and took it very seriously immediately. I was like, okay, I'm a songwriter now.
And that's it. Just kind of jump right into it.
Yeah. I was a really, really focused kid. And whenever I did anything, I committed fully to it. So yeah, that's how I started songwriting.
Wow. And speaking of songwriting, like your song, the original, My Bad, took on its own viral spark, when a lot of folks even got wind of you when you were on the the talent show stream with Kai Cenat and iShow. So how did that even came about? Because seeing the video, looking at it, I'm like, oh snap! And then to do it a cappella, I was like, oh wow, no tracks, no nothing, and it was such a killer moment. It was such a really, really great moment. Like, how did you even? Again, how did that moment came about and you just saying, hey, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't care if it's how many thousands of people that is here on this stream.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to jump right into it.
Oh, my goodness. So that was such a fun and funny experience, how that came about. So I was actually on the way to New York and for my sister's birthday. And we had gotten a call that this live stream talent show was happening. Do I want to do it? At the time, My Bad was the only song I had out. It was my first song that I had dropped in over 3 years. And, we got this call and I was like, okay, I don't do I do My Bad or do I do a cover or, cause it was a really quick turnaround of when the show was going to be happening. And I was like, okay, do I do it a cappella or, I was very back and forth about how I wanted to navigate it. Because I was like, oh, well, nobody knows My Bad. So it probably wouldn't go over well if I did it. You know what I'm saying? Cause nobody knows the song. So anyway. So then I'm on this plane to New York, and while I'm on the plane, God tells me to do it bilingual and do it a cappella. So I wrote the Spanish part of that cover or of that performance on the plane to New York, and just decided to do it a cappella because I was like, you never know what the sound's gonna be like. It was this whole thing, so I was like, I'm just gonna sing it, and it went over really well, and so that was a really cool experience, a really big push that God gave me kind of out the gate with my Christian R&B because I was in a quiet season with the Lord. I was in a cocoon really, and so then first song out, we go do this live stream talent show. It was really, really cool.
But even how dope is that? Because you were taking a break. You heard the voice of God saying, hey, get back into this. This is what I want for you.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna trust him, and then you're gonna go on this talent show thing.
Yeah. And
then that confirmation hit pushes forward. There's so many new followers, you're viral, you're everywhere. That must have just been one of those obedient moments. Listen, man, God really got me.
Yes.
What was that feeling for you, knowing that you obeyed and just jumped into it?
Man, God is faithful. God is so faithful. I was literally talking about that on the way over here, because God is so faithful, and I've just seen the evidence of him being real, of him being sovereign, of him loving me, loving my family. And it's just like when you see God come through on a promise that doesn't make sense to you, right? And you're like, okay, God, I'm just going, like, I guess I'm just going, and see him really just like full circle it and just like make it all make sense. It is the most exhilarating, humbling, exciting thing to know, like, wow, God really is real and he loves me and he really is faithful. You hear people say all these, say all these things growing up in church, God is faithful, God, and then, but when you're really in the process of really experiencing those things for yourself for really kind of the first time, it just keeps building and growing your faith. So that's exactly what has continued to happen for me in these last couple of years. Just really seeing God show out on things that, haven't made sense to me when I've heard him say it, but he's faithful. He's faithful and he always comes through.
And it's always so great just to hear when folks talk about the faithfulness of God. And the minute you said it, you just lit up. Yeah. You're like, God is so faithful. And you just like that joy. It's like, oh man, I love it. Before we touch, I know you got 2 new singles out right now. Yeah. There's GPS, there's, My Bad Part 2 that I want to make sure we get into. I definitely have to talk about the tour. You're about to go on tour. This is like super, super awesome. Just looking at this, seeing you getting ready for the tour. But, one of my favorite songs from you is Teach Me. And, listening to Teach Me is like, is Christian, is biblical, but there's like it's undeniable R&B. Yeah. Like flows everything with that. So even in writing and creating that song, like what was the moment sort of surrounding that? And then even thinking in your head, like, hey, I'm an R&B artist, I'm a Christian R&B artist, I'm going to release this song. People may interpret it a whole bunch of ways. Yeah. But I'm going to just still go forward and just release it. Like, what was that even like, just putting pen to paper with that?
Yeah, so Teach Me really came from a place of prayer. There's no way I would have ever written something like Teach Me, like without, what I'm saying? Like without the what really happened to get that song out. So I was in a, misunderstanding in my relationship, as we all have them. And, I went into prayer and I was, telling God, I was like, look, like, I just need you to change him because he's irritating me, and, just really, giving the Lord my all. Yeah, yeah. And in that prayer, the Holy Spirit redirected me to instead ask for understanding, right? Ask for understanding, to really help get you to the other side of this misunderstanding, right? Yeah. And so I came out of that prayer space and Teach Me just like wrote itself in about 20 minutes and putting it out, I was still in a space where I wasn't thinking about me as like a Christian R&B artist. Yeah. I was really like, okay, I'm being obedient to the fact that God told me to do music to him. This is the next song that I have finished. So this is the next song that's going to be put out. Right. Yeah, yeah. And when I posted the first video of it that ended up going viral, my prayer was, Lord, just get this to whoever needs to hear it. Wow. Right. And it went up in a really big way. And I was like, okay, God, I guess you want a lot of people to hear this. Great, So yeah, really all of that and that whole project From Me to God, it really just all came from that genuine heart space of just talking to the Lord and, hoping that it would be helpful to whoever it was supposed to be helpful to. Wow. Yeah.
Man, that's beautiful. And My Bad Part 2, so kind of picked up on the original, you kind of like solidified the sequel there a bit. You expanded on some elements, so even just talk a little bit about that, kind of taking that approach, like, hey, there's the original My Bad, but this kind of started a lot of things, but I'm not gonna go back into here and kind of put a bow on it.
Yeah, so My Bad Part 2 actually was inspired by a sermon I was watching where my pastor was saying that, like, no matter where you are in your journey, you're not where you were last year, and Jesus is proud of you. So, like, have grace for where you are and where you were, right? Because Jesus sees the whole process. He sees you surrendering. He sees you, you know, growing, even if it's not the way that people are making you feel like you should be growing, right, in the Lord. And it really just inspired me to write a song about the continuation of the journey, right? My Bad was the first song that I put out in 3 years, and it really was coming from a space of real repentance, right? And you know, kind of reintroducing not only me as an artist to the world, but like me to God again, you know. And so with My Bad Part 2, I'm in a different space in my faith journey, right? And I'm always writing wherever I really am, right? Wherever I'm really living and praying and growing with the Lord. And so I was like, it'd be really dope to have a My Bad Part 2, because the sanctification journey is ongoing. You don't like get like it's like, yes, okay, when we accept Jesus, we're set free from our sin, right? But we're still human and we have to continue to repent. We need new mercies daily, right? Because we're still human every day and we're gonna mess up, and we need Jesus every day. So that's where My Bad Part 2 came from. And then sonically, I really wanted it to just like fully represent how I hear my like self, you know what I'm saying? Like in my soul, right? So there's R&B, there's Latin elements, it's bilingual, and really just wanted to express the fullness of the way that I talk to God and how I experience him. So yeah, that's where that came from.
Dope, love it. I know I'm gonna keep going here. GPS.
Yeah.
So just capturing that need for guidance, for light, like just, you know, like that plea at the place where you were. Again, like when folks listen to GPS, what do you want them to take away from that?
Man, GPS was such a special song too. I really feel like God fed me that one like in the middle of the night. And so if there's one takeaway, I would say just to cling on to the fact and the truth that God just wants your yes. And you don't have to know what's on the other side of it, right? You just like, he wants complete faith, and then just trust him to take you the rest of the way. We overthink so much. We like that we block our own blessings, right? And we're so worried about other people blocking our blessings, but sometimes we're the ones doing it to ourselves because we don't give him our full faith. And so, I think the takeaway from GPS is really just to take the first step and let him lead you the rest of the way.
Let him lead you the rest of the way.
Yeah.
And unlike the regular GPS, I may lead you the wrong way, God is definitely not going to lead you the wrong way. So real talk.
Every time he's going to get you right where you need to go.
I'm with it. Now, tour.
Yeah.
You're about to step out on tour. May you're getting on tour with Ryan Ellis. Like, how excited. We've been seeing some clips of you, you know, you with your dance instructor. You were like, hey, I'm glad she's not screaming at me.
Yeah. Talk to me nice.
So you're there just preparing and putting in that groundwork. Like, you know, like how exciting is this moment, this season, stepping out on tour, all these different spots? Like what are you hoping to just kind of come away with for yourself, but also just allowing God to use you in these different places and spaces you're going to be entering into?
Yeah, I'm so excited. And I feel like for me, what I'm most excited about is being able to be with everybody in person, right? Social media is so great. We love social media for introducing us to each other, right? But, you know, the music that we do is so... It's to point to God, right? And to inspire everybody to always keep God at the center. And so I, you know, am so excited to just be able to see faces and experience all of these songs together and just have fun, man. I'm really a people person. And so I really cannot wait to just go city to city and just like take pictures and just have fun, man. I'm so excited. I'm also excited to try new foods. So drop some food recommendations in your city.
So there y'all go. drop some food recommendations and tag her in that.
Yeah.
So. You got this new album that you're working on that, you know, that's going to be coming out at some point. But, you know, what's the name of that album?
Yeah. So the album is called Love Me to Life.
Love Me to Life.
And
love the title.
Thank you. And it's really a body of work that the Lord fed me. In about 3 weeks, the whole album got written.
Wow.
And it's an arc from beginning to end, really, starting at my journey of finding the Lord and finding what it means like to love the Lord, right? And for then him to teach me what it means to love myself in the way that he created me, right? And then ultimately how to be a reflection of his love to others. So it's a journey that I'm really excited to go on with everybody. And GPS and My Bad Part 2, He Is are the singles from the album. So I'm excited for everyone to hear it.
Wow. And we're excited too. We can't wait just to dive into that. Just clear our afternoon whenever that releases and just focus and just listening to music, not listening and scrolling, not doing anything but just listening. Man, Lee, before you drop your socials, at this point I'm sure everyone knows who you are, but I'm still gonna have you drop your social. I guess I'll be kind of wrap up with like, what's the final message that you want to just leave for your fans, for your supporters that's kind of just been on this journey with you, but also even more specifically for the ones that may be in a space right now where they just need some encouragement?
Well, one, I just want to say thank you to everybody who's been on this journey with me. It has been a journey, and I'm so excited for where we're going to get ready to go together. And I guess I would just encourage everyone to continue to lean into who the Lord told you are, you know, and continue to go with what he's told you to do, and trust him fully in the process, because he loves you so much and he is faithful. So
wow, that's it, man. I don't know if I want to clap, I don't know what I want to do, but that's amazing. Drop your socials for the people, and y'all listen, y'all go stream these 2 new singles that are out right now. GPS, My Bad Part 2. There's also the other EP before. Listen, just stream, download, share. Like, run up the numbers. Head on over to YouTube. There's a whole lot of great visuals there. But drop your socials to the people.
Yes, so you can find me on all social media at Lee Vasi. It's LeeLeeVasi. And then my music is literally anywhere that you can stream or buy music. My name is Lee Vasi. Thank you so much for having me.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.